welcome to the call. My name is Rachel Barnes from Investor Friendly Agents, and today our objective is to provide some information about the Adelaide property market to investors and to agents and even to homeowners. Actually, anyone who's looking in the property market, whether to buy or sell, are just basically with an interest. There are thousands of agents in South Australia, but we've chosen today's guest because she stands out from the crowd. Our guest today is a multiple award winner and recently introduced her entire agency, the Investor Friendly Agent Training, and they're all now accredited agents, I'm very happy to say. So you can understand the calibre of this person you're about to hear from. I really want to give you a bit of background about her. So just to let you know, our guest today, her name is Valerie Timms. She's from Timms Real Estate in Adelaide. She is passionate about turning passions into profits, yours and her own, of course, and property is obviously a vehicle to that. She's a businesswoman who started out from humble beginnings and achieved her success through sheer drive and motivation, really just to avoid a mediocre life that a lot of people just put up with these days. Now, Valerie began her real estate career in 2000, and in just 2 years, she became the #1 award-winning salesperson in Adelaide for the Ray White Group. And she then became the director of Ray White Christie's Beach, and she propelled that business to the #1 office in SA and NT for many years running. In fact, they were the #1 office in South Australia out of 55 in 2003, 2004, 2005, 2009, 2010. You get the picture, don't you? Now, Valerie personally trained many salespeople in the art of listing and selling real estate and created an elite selling team. And during that time, Valerie learned the critical skills of survival in business and overcame many personal and financial challenges. We'll hear about one of those personal ones in a second. Now, with quite a few bumps in the road adding to her experience, a second marriage and 4 children later, Valerie then made a bold break from the safety net of a franchise group and with her husband Adam created an exciting, fresh, new Adelaide brand, Timms Real Estate. And Timms Real Estate has just been awarded the #1 medium residential agency in Adelaide by the Real Estate Institute of South Australia. And with a growing team of salespeople, property managers, personal assistants, administrators, 3 office locations, Valerie's business acumen has shifted their business from what others suggested was an uncalculated risk in a tough market to a flourishing brand of attraction. So along with driving Timms Real Estate, that's not all she does. She's a woman, she's a mentor, she's a coach, she's a facilitator and author with a book soon to be released. And I'm sure she's looking forward to connecting and collaborating with you now. Welcome, Valerie. How are you?
I'm really well. Thank you, Rachel. Thanks for inviting me to chat today.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure, and I know it's going to be a pleasure for all the listeners and I know you're extremely busy, so thank you for taking the time out to speak to us today. Firstly, I wanted to congratulate you on being one of the first agencies to be accredited because it's not many people that take the first step forward. Many people wait until others have gone through, so congratulations on that. And just goes to show you why you're an award-winning agent. You don't do things that normal people do. You're always listening to work out how you can find more, learn more, do more. So I know you've been in real estate now for, 15 years?
Yeah, about 1 month away from 15 years now.
Okay, so why did you choose real estate though? Like, you must have left school at that stage. You're pretty young.
Yeah, well, I was 27. I had a varied career in different industries, but basically I failed my final year of schooling by 1 point, which is quite disappointing. And I started working in the local meatworks, packing meat. And, my final day there, I was pulling kidneys out of sheep. It was the most revolting job I've ever had and decided I never wanted to go back there. So since then, I sort of worked with disabled people. I worked in hospitality. I became a vet nurse, and then I did some secretarial work. And I just found that with each job that I did, there was no room for growth and no room for advancement or even to increase my income. And my dad was actually in real estate, selling houses, and so I thought, I might just have a crack at real estate. So it was a great move for me. As you know, you've already mentioned, it's gone really well, and it's just been a fantastic industry to get into.
And you obviously love it because obviously you love people, you love property, so that's fantastic. But what about your first job when you first got into real estate? You told me a little bit about that, and you just have to share that.
Well, I think we all have a story about, one of our first tries at something. And yes, my first job was with a company in Adelaide, and, the boss was a bit sort of old school, and, I was trying to introduce some of the new things I'd learned in the college, of course, and, I'd created some brochures that actually had my face on it. and he was very much into branding his own company and not his salespeople. So I called a meeting and sat with him and explained why I was doing what I was doing, and he basically said that wasn't to happen. And then I couldn't help myself. I commented on some of the other branding in the company and said, look, these business cards are kind of reticent of the 1980s. Do you think we should get with the program? And Rachel, that didn't go down very well. He did stand up and point towards his door and yell at me to get out. So I did, and then moved on.
And his parting words were obviously very motivating.
Absolutely, yeah. He basically said that, I was never going to amount to anything, so I thought it was probably a good idea to prove him wrong.
Oh, see, that's sometimes just the why you need to get out there and do things really well. So we have a lot to thank him for.
Absolutely. The best revenge is massive success, Rachel.
Absolutely. Wonderful to hear. Now, let's talk about the Adelaide property market. So
yes.
If you were from out of state, say somebody from Melbourne, Sydney, and you're explaining to them about Adelaide and what the market was doing at the moment, just give us a general description on how you describe that.
Well, I think Adelaide is still the most affordable capital city in mainland Australia, and I believe this is well and truly documented. I love the Adelaide market because the prices are fantastic. Although, like the 3 real estate offices that I have, are selling higher priced property currently, I think I made my mark in real estate by selling properties in a lower social economic demographic in the south of Adelaide. And what I found over the years is that investors just love the south and north of Adelaide because everything's so affordable. My main area was Christie's Beach, which is now, we've expanded across Adelaide, but Christie's Beach was touted by many investor magazines, the news, etc., as being a real investment hotspot, and I think it still is. So I think that's one of the things investors tend to look for is it's just affordable property.
Yeah, well, I think, the old days there used to be a lot of talk about negative gearing, and then people have gone the other way. Of course, it's not that easy to get things that are positively geared, but, putting them into a bracket where you can make them affordable one way or another is obviously the ideal, as we talked about before. But if you're looking at price ranges then, so what do you think the price ranges are that are attracting most buyers, home and investors-wise? Is it sort of the 300 to 400, the 500 to 600? What sort of bracket do you think?
Well, currently the Adelaide median house price is now over $400,000. So the bargains are a little bit harder to find. However, in the south and north, of course, there are some excellent investment finds. We are finding more and more investors are sort of moving into the $3 to $4 up to $450,000 price bracket. That seems to be quite popular because in that bracket, you can get some suburbs that are, maybe 20, 25 minutes from the CBD in quite a nice suburb area, not too old, so some good depreciation benefits and, tenants enjoying that kind of lifestyle because it is close enough to the CBD and beaches and all of those types of things. So at the moment, I'd probably say, investors are certainly looking more the 300, 400 to 450 price bracket.
Okay, cool. And, to say that's not too far from the city, which is always great, especially if you come from Sydney or Melbourne, you realise how long you have to take to get into the city from those places. Yeah,
well, I think Adelaide had this wonderful Southern Expressway, which only went one way. Now they've rectified that, so it's going two ways, and that's certainly helping, as far as tenants, being prepared to move a little bit further out as well.
And I didn't mention this, but I'm just wondering, we might talk a little bit later about vacancy rates, but on the other side, we talked about what's the most attractive price range for buyers. What about from a seller's perspective? Is there an area in the market, like a price range, that's pretty difficult to move?
Most properties are moving at the moment, and it's interesting. We have sort of found that actually the lower price brackets, like the properties that are under 300, that used to get snapped up at any price, have just been a little bit slower. The $200,000 to $250,000 price bracket. And I think just because there's been a bit of uncertainty out there, with people, a lot of jobs. The job rate has risen. A lot of factories are closing down. So there's just been a little bit of uncertainty in that price bracket we have discovered.
Okay, it's interesting. I know I could see the Housing Trust have been putting some properties on the market down in the north side as well, so that probably hasn't helped to add some supply, rather than demand.
Absolutely. That's right.
So are there any hotspots that you pick? And obviously we're not asking you to look, in crystal balls or anything like that, but anything that just from your perspective personally you think, I think that's going to be a hotspot in South Australia. It's going to be above the normal growth that you'd expect perhaps in the next 12 months. What would Valerie's tips be?
That's a hard one. And, as real estate agents, we're not allowed to give advice. I'd have to provide a Form R7 before I mention that. So verbally, I'll just say I'm not allowed to provide investment and financial advice. But I do believe that in and around Adelaide, and I probably can't comment on every area because, I tend to have focused, in the south, and the western beachside areas. I think there are some places that have great access to the CBD. There's areas like Richmond, Findon, Seaton, in the western beachside suburbs that certainly are starting to become quite popular. We've got a lot of ethnic groups migrating in, so there's a lot of demand in those areas. But I have to say, I'm a bit of a fan of the southern area. I think, those coastal beachside suburbs are so undervalued for what they have to offer. Some of the world's best beaches, places like Christie's Beach, Port Noarlunga, right down to Aldinga, I think are still a fantastic, affordable buy. And now, of course, with the railway extension down there, I think in the future we're going to see some good increases in price.
Great. Well, I know Port Noarlunga have got some really nice coffee shops happening down there, so you can always tell a place is starting to pick up when you see more coffee shops coming, I reckon.
Yeah, it's becoming a lot more cosmopolitan.
Absolutely, that's a better way of putting it. So what opportunities do you see for investors looking to buy in South Australia in the short to medium term? So say like the, now to 3 years term. And I know you're not giving advice, and as I say, this is just, as if you and I were talking and we're giving each other some personal suggestions about what we might do.
Well, I think, Rachel, you're probably the better expert as far as in making short-term gains on property. But I think with prices not skyrocketing like they were during the boom, I think the plan is to buy wisely, hold, and then sell later down the track. I think buying at the moment, unless you're really super savvy, which I'm sure property women can help with, but I think unless you're super savvy, you need to, it's pretty hard to buy quickly and turn properties over and make a good profit in the current market. So I think, plan to buy something sensible and just hold it for the long term and wait for those capital gains.
Okay. And from the other side then, if I'm an investor and I'm looking to sell, should I hold off or should I add a bit of value and try and do something with it now or sell it straight away?
Well, look, I don't think there's a mad rush to sell, but I'd have to say, and my personal experience is we've just offloaded a few of our own investments because they weren't really making us any money. They'd probably had their capital growth during the boom. There was some good investment to draw out of those properties, and the market is still very good. So our experience has been, of the 3 properties that we've just sold, that they sold in a really good space of time and for fantastic prices, and we've made really good money on them. So I have to say, if you're thinking, I don't want to be continuing with maintenance or they're getting a bit old and not really sure, I think, maybe consider moving them and reinvesting into something that you prefer.
Yeah, we often talk about when a property is at its best and highest use, that then it's probably the time, if it's a decent market, to get out and then buy something else that you can add some value to. So there might be a few people who are, thinking that's the way to go.
Yeah, I do think so. I don't think there's a mad rush to get on the market. I'm not going to see things, I don't believe, going backwards, but I don't think they're going to be booming forwards either. So if you're sort of thinking it might be time to change the portfolio, I think the market's, it's quite fantastic right now if that's your plan.
Cool. And so if, from the other side of things, if someone's looking to, when you have most of your homeowners, if someone's looking to buy themselves, what sort of area do you find most homeowners are going for these days in Adelaide? I didn't prepare you with that question, so...
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Homeowners, look, I think schools are very important and facilities are very important. So getting close to the CBD is getting quite expensive. You know, my experience being the south of Adelaide, a lot of people are gravitating towards areas like Seaford, Hallett Cove, Shadow Park. You know, they're so affordable for what they are. You can pick up a very nice family home for, you know, the mid-300s, which in today's economy is quite affordable, and you can still have wonderful access to schools and shops and the beach, which I don't know that you really get that in other states, which is why I sort of mentioned Adelaide just being so affordable with such a fantastic lifestyle. So they're probably some of the areas I suggest that just general homeowners are looking towards.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. What we'll do is another time we'll talk a bit more about property management and what your services are there, but I wanted to keep this to 15 minutes so that, you know, it's nice and quick and easy. I really appreciate your time, Valerie. You've been fantastic. Now, let's let us know, how can people contact you directly if they want to find out more about buying, selling, property management or anything?
Certainly, they can just Google Tim's Real Estate and our website will come up, or they can give me a call directly on 0447 312 218.
Great, and that's Tim's, Timms.
Yes, it is M for Mary, Tim's. Yeah.
And you've got 3 offices. The latest one's in Blackwood, isn't it?
Yes, we've just opened Blackwood, but we've also got Somerton Park, which is right near Glenelg, and then Christie's Beach.
Wonderful. All right, thank you so much, Valerie. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you again soon about property management. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Rachel.